Hello and welcome live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Gautam Roy and coming up in the next 1 hour. Prime Minister Narendra Modi wraps up his France visit. In yet another special gesture, President Macron sees him off at the airport. India and France sign pacts in nuclear energy and innovation. The Indian PM's next stop is Washington, D.C. He'll hold talks, bilateral meet with President Trump to take the India-US Comprehensive and Global Strategic Partnership forward. India's dream to become a global semiconductor hub gets a boost. Lam Research to invest 100 billion INR in semiconductor unit near Bengaluru. New US Defense Secretary tells his NATO counterparts in Brussels return to Ukraine's pre-2014 borders is unrealistic. And India completes an emphatic whitewash of England in a 3-match home ODI series just ahead of the start of the Champions Trophy. Let's now begin the show with Prime Minister Narendra Modi's France visit. Collective global action on artificial intelligence dominated day 2 of Prime Minister Modi's France visit, and day 3 was not just about cultural linkages and people-to-people connect. It also focused on strengthening economic and maritime ties with a focus on sustainable and limitless clean energy for the future. Take a look.
After a power-packed day 1 in France, Indian Prime Minister and French President yet again scripted history in Marseille. Both the leaders jointly inaugurated the Indian consulate in this vibrant city, marking a new chapter in India-France ties. At the consulate, both the leaders were warmly welcomed by members of the Indian diaspora who had gathered to witness this historic occasion. Both the leaders also visited the Mazark War Cemetery in Marseille and paid tribute to the Indian soldiers who lost their lives during the First and Second World War. Both leaders laid wreaths to honor the sacrifices of the fallen soldiers. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and President Emmanuel Macron then visited the International Thermonuclear Experimental Reactor (ITER) in Cadarache. Both leaders appreciated the progress of ITER, including the assembly of the world's largest tokamak, where 500 megawatt of fusion power will be produced. India is among the 7 ITER members contributing to the project over the last 2 decades. Focus was also on strengthening maritime ties. Both leaders visited the control room of CMA CGM, a French shipping and logistics company in Marseille. The two leaders held discussion on future collaboration through the India-Middle East-Europe Economic Corridor, which was launched during India's G20 presidency. As Prime Minister Narendra Modi's productive visit to France concludes, he emplained for his visit to the United States, where he will be holding talks with President Donald Trump. Prime Minister Modi was accorded a military farewell in France. In a special gesture, French President Emmanuel Macron came to see off Prime Minister Modi at the airport, showcasing once again a never-ending bond between both the two leaders. Jessica Taneja's report for DD India.
The PM's visit to France has been marked by an exceptional display of camaraderie and respect from President Emmanuel Macron, showcasing the strength of their bilateral relationship. Take a look at how the two leaders have shared their special bond, not only during the latest trip, but also over the years.
In the world of diplomacy, friendships are rare. But the bond between Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and French President Emmanuel Macron is a shining exception. Their recent meeting in France once again highlighted the strength of this partnership, built on mutual trust, strategic collaboration, and a personal camaraderie that transcends official ties. The embrace, the smiles, and the easy conversation set the tone for yet another chapter in the growing rapport. The visit wasn't just about gestures. It was about shaping the future. Co-chairing the Artificial Intelligence Action Summit, the two leaders reinforced their shared vision for AI's role in global progress. Beyond policy discussions, their personal connection was evident. From casual conversations to light-hearted moments, their chemistry reflected a friendship that has only strengthened over the years. In Marseille, the warmth of their bond extended to the people. Welcomed by an enthusiastic Indian diaspora, their joint presence symbolized the growing ties between India and France, not just at the government level, but at a people-to-people level. This isn't the first time Modi and Macron have displayed such bonhomie. From their heartfelt meetings at global summits to Bastille Day celebrations in 2023, their partnership has grown into a true alliance of trust and shared ambitions. As Modi's visit to France concludes, one thing is clear. This isn't just about diplomacy. It's a friendship that continues to shape the future of global cooperation, and with leaders who believe in the power of partnership. The best is yet to come. Tapas Bhattacharya's report for DD India.
And the Indian and French leaders also visited the International Thermonuclear Experimental Reactor in Kadahash during the visit. DD India's Jessica Taneja spoke with the Director General of ITER, Pietro Barabash, and K.R. Sriram, who's the head of the Office of the DG.
We have with us the Director General of ITER, Pietro Barabash. Thank you for speaking to DD India and taking out time. We've seen you at work. We've seen the contributions of the 7 nations. Tell us about India's contribution and what do you make of it?
Yeah, thank you. So, Indian contributions, as you have seen yourself with your own eyes, are very important for ITER. There is a cryostat, which was built by L&T. There has been contribution in the cryogenic lines, in many parts of the project. Plus, there is the human contribution. So many smart engineers that came here to work in the assembly and in the preparation of the delivery of the component. Very, very important.
You've seen the Indian Prime Minister's keenness on enhancing civil nuclear cooperation with France over the years. In fact, France was one of the countries and ITER is where we are at this point. How do you see this moving forward, especially when it comes to the leader of India who wants to continue with this momentum moving forward?
Well, I can only but welcome, the initiatives of your Prime Minister to reinforce, the cooperation at international level for the development and the deployment of nuclear power. So fusion is one path, but, I'm conscious of the fact that fusion will take time to develop. So it's, at the frontier of technology. But we also have a problem. We have a problem that we have to solve in the world to, reduce gradually and maybe not as a little bit faster than we are doing our dependency from fossil fuels. And this is also important for India. So from that standpoint, to cooperate in the international frame, to develop nuclear power in general, it's very commendable. And I think that cooperation with India, I'm sure, would be welcomed by many fronts.
The expectations from India in particular, apart from the current initiatives?
So I would like to put the right emphasis that what I see from India is a lot of valuable contribution in terms of new ideas also. That's the first thing. Secondly, I am very happy about what has happened so far with Indian suppliers. We have very serious suppliers, reliable. Such companies will continue to remain engaged and work with us closely because, this work of assembly requires not only the workforce, but also the ingenuity and the organization of pre-existing large industrial suppliers such as the one you have in India.
We have with us Mr. K.R. Sriram. He's the head of office of the Director General here at ITER. Thank you for speaking to us, sir. You've been here for 6 years. This is your second stint. Tell us about the progress India has made over the years in terms of contribution to the ITER project.
India's contribution to the ITER project has been very significant. So the main contribution that India has made is through the cryostat, which is in fact one of the largest pieces of equipment forming part of the ITER machine. India has also contributed the cooling water system. It has made significant contributions to the cryogenic systems, and increasingly Indian contractors, leading companies like Larsen & Toubro, Inox India, are working directly with the ITER organization for doing very key components of machine assembly activities on-site as well as off-site.
Prime Minister Modi has been very keen on this project since the very beginning. How do you see things moving forward when it comes to his vision of how India is going to continue to contribute in the future?
I think the Prime Minister should be extremely happy with the level of contribution that India has made, India and Indian industry have made. And this would also help to lay the foundation for how the Indian nuclear fusion industry, both private and public, could be foreseen in the future. Until now, the primary focus of India has been on fission nuclear energy, which is of course remaining very important. But fusion as a potential source will become very important, and ITER's role is to demonstrate the scientific and technical feasibility of nuclear energy and lay the foundation for future fusion power plants. So once this project achieves, shall I say, a degree of completion and the research operations demonstrate such feasibility, I think the way forward would be clear for India on its for its own new fusion program and in collaboration with others. So this will be a very important step forward to demonstrate future fusion power plants.
And joining us live from Marseille to talk about the French leg of Prime Minister Modi's visits is Jessica Taneja herself. Well, salut, Jessica, from AI to nuclear energy. Would you say that this sixth visit of Prime Minister Modi to France has been particularly future-oriented?
Bonjour, Gautam, from the streets of Marseille here. A successful visit of the Prime Minister to France concludes this evening here at Marseille, the southern port city of France. It has been an interesting day in terms of development if we talk about the Indo-French relationship, starting with the strategic partnership that the two established back in 1998 when Jacques Chirac first visited India for the Republic Day celebrations, to now the French president who was here last year as well. And both the countries have exchanged, we had cultural exchanges as well as attending each other's national days as well. Beyond that, what we saw today was the two leaders first starting their day visiting the cemetery of Mozac, where they commemorated the Indian soldiers who had laid down their lives during the First World War, paying homage to them. After that, they reached the site or where they inaugurated the new consulate here in Marseille for all those people living in and around the city, and perhaps giving them the consular access that they much needed, an announcement that was made in 2023, and the key outcomes that were announced by the Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri just a short while ago, as we heard from him, as a roadmap ahead for the Indo-French relationship, be it maritime security or cooperation in the Indo-Pacific, to AI, successful completion of the AI summit, and of course next year as India prepares to host the AI summit, it will be crucial when it comes to collaboration between the two beyond the traditional sectors of space, defense, and the civil nuclear cooperation. Even on the front of civil nuclear cooperation, we heard from the Foreign Secretary who said that we're looking at much more advancement, especially when it comes to the Jetapur power plant in Maharashtra. We could see some movement in that direction as well, but that is just one component of the discussions that took place between the two leaders. Bilateral talks both took place in Paris as well as Marseille. And later, as we saw, both the leaders visited the International Thermonuclear Experimental Reactor site as well. An important component of the visit where the Prime Minister was shown the premises and inside the tokamak region where the crucial experiments are being conducted for nuclear fusion. And once that finished, the Prime Minister then left for America. And even while he was leaving France, it was a special gesture by the French President who was there to see him off at the airport while he was leaving. So overall, an important day and a lot of developments in that sense, but it does go on to show that the relationship keeps moving forward, be it the young professional scheme that French President Macron had announced last year to allow more Indian students to study here, providing them with a 5-year work visa, Schengen work visa, crucial component in both the relationships, and also to tech and innovation, to, of course, also supporting India's bid in the talks of supporting India's bid for 2036 Olympics as well. All of those crucial elements today that we saw discussed between the two leaders, and key MOUs inked, goes on to show that Horizon 2047 and the aim of both the nations when it comes to tech and innovation would continue, not just in the traditional sectors, but also in other sectors such as digitalization and sustainable development, be it education and maritime technology as well.
Thank you, Jessica. Certainly, or certainement, as the French would say, the relationship has been given a lot of extent and expanse as well through this visit, and we'll see more progress being made in the coming years as well. Thanks for joining us for the moment. Now, during his visit to France, Prime Minister Modi presented a stunning Dokra artwork of musicians adorned with lapis lazuli and coral. This intricate brass and copper piece showcases India's rich tribal heritage and craftsmanship. He also gifted to the French president an exquisite silver hand-engraved table mirror with floral and peacock motifs. This was to the First Lady of France, reflecting Rajasthan's mastery of metalwork. And for US Vice President J.D. Vance's children, the Prime Minister brought thoughtful handcrafted gifts, a wooden railway toy set for youngest son Vivek Vance. And there was also a jigsaw puzzle featuring Indian folk paintings for elder son Ewan Blaine Vance, plus a wooden alphabet set for daughter Mirabelle Rose Vance, all designed to inspire creativity and learning. And still to come on DD India News Hour. Greece's parliament elects its former speaker Konstantin Tasoulas as the country's new president. Vietnam's capital Hanoi becomes the most polluted city in the world. And India showcases its clean cooking model at the India Energy Week in Delhi.
Prasar Bharati, in collaboration with IIT Delhi and Software Technology Parks of India, is organizing the DD Robocon 2025 this year as well. In this National Robotic Championship, engineering students will get ample opportunities to showcase their ingenuity and potential. The national selection for this championship will be held on the 12th and 13th of July, and the winning team will get an opportunity to participate in the International ABU Robocon Championship to be held in Mongolia in August this year. So, hurry up! The last date of registration is the 16th of February. For more information, log on to www.ddrobocon.iitd.ac.in.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Gautam Roy. Now, after wrapping up the France leg of his visit, Prime Minister Modi is en route to the United States for a two-day visit. It aims to herald a renewed and substantive Indo-US partnership with issues ranging from trade and tariffs to immigration and strengthening strategic ties likely to figure in the Modi-Trump talks. DD India's Amritpal Singh and Shubhendu Ghosh report from Washington, D.C.
When Prime Minister Narendra Modi lands at Maryland's Joint Base Andrews on Thursday, he will be one of the first few global leaders to meet the US President Donald Trump early in his second presidency. The early visit signals a strategic push to strengthen India-US ties under the new administration.
The Prime Minister has been invited to visit the US within barely 3 weeks of the new administration taking office, shows the importance of the India-US partnership and is also reflective of the bipartisan support that this partnership enjoys in the United States.
Key discussions would include defense ties, trade tariffs and investment.
While the Trump administration engages in tariff tussles with a number of allies and adversaries, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will look to iron out the strains and consolidate on the gains in the India-US trade partnership. This time, the partnership could be deepened in the domain of energy, defense and critical technologies.
For both countries, the stakes are high as the bilateral trade stands at $118 billion with a surplus of about $32 billion in India's favor in 2023. Strengthening security and defense ties will also be discussed in Washington, D.C. Potential purchases of weapon systems and technology, including the Stryker military vehicles and the Javelin anti-tank missiles, could figure in the talks.
When Prime Minister Modi comes visiting the White House on Thursday, apart from trade and immigration, the focus of the Modi-Trump talks would be on strengthening the defense ties, fast-tracking military acquisitions and joint production of weapon systems, especially strengthening the strategic partnership in the Indo-Pacific. With my colleague Shubhendu Ghosh and cameraman S. Jaishankar, this is Amritpal Singh in Washington, D.C.
And Shubhendu has spoken exclusively with Dr. Mukesh Aghi, CEO of US-India Strategic Partnership Forum, that's USISPF. The organization works extensively with business and government leaders in the US and India to promote trade and strengthen ties between the two countries. Listen in.
Anticipation is high ahead of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's upcoming visit to the United States. I have with me Dr. Mukesh Aghi, President and CEO of United States India Strategic Partnership Forum. It's an institution that furthers the business interests of US and Indian entrepreneurs. Dr. Aghi, welcome to DD India.
Thank you.
Now, it's the first time that Prime Minister Narendra Modi and President Donald Trump are meeting after the new Trump administration took power. What are the expectations of the business and trade community on both sides about this visit?
Well, you have to understand this is the first month of President Trump's second-term presidency. And more important is you have a Prime Minister who's coming off the win in New Delhi. And in fact, he's won almost every election except one or two states itself. So he also has a momentum behind him. I think you have to understand they're coming to see how they can set the agenda for the next 4 years between the two countries. The discussions are going to be on geopolitics, it's going to be on economics, it's going to be on technology trade, it's going to be energy security, it's going to be on people to people. So it's a very broad agenda.
If you were to talk about the areas of opportunity and the areas of challenges, if any, what would those be? Because there are a lot of concern around tariffs with the Trump administration.
The US companies are looking at access to the Indian market. And classic example is Apple. 3 years ago didn't have much revenue in India. Today it has crossed $5 billion in domestic revenue. They're also looking at de-risking from supply chain from China. Today, 25% of the Apple 16 phones are produced Its exports from India has crossed over $12 billion. So other countries are looking at Apple and saying, we also need to learn how to de-risk and gain access to the Indian market. So the community, the business leadership on the US side is looking from that perspective. I think from an India side, what companies are saying is, yes, we need to leverage more US pharma market. Today, 40% of the prescriptions are written in the US, the drugs comes from India.
How have you seen US-India relations mature and progress in the past decade?
Every president has looked at India strategically. Every president has looked at India from an opportunity perspective. And what they have come out is that India is a partner you can trust. India is a partner you can work with. But more important is what we have seen this Prime Minister Modi, has raised the bar of India's stature and partnership with the American president itself.
On that note, thank you, Dr. Aghi, for speaking with DD India. That was Dr. Mukesh Aghi speaking about the opportunities and possibilities that lie ahead for both business communities from India and the United States. With camera person Shubhendu Ghosh for DD India in Washington, D.C.
And let's now go across to my colleague Amritpal Singh joining us live from Washington, D.C. for more on this upcoming visit. Hi Amrit, a lot of anticipation has been built up over the prospects of this bilateral meet, considering the kind of decisions and proposals President Trump has been announcing since his return to the Oval Office, particularly related to tariffs and immigration. What can be expected from India's end?
Well, Donald Trump has been using the tariff diplomacy essentially to, either get the trade in his favor by using coercive measures. But in cases like India, he hasn't, overtly coerced India. So I think the Prime Minister's meeting with the US President would, of course, tariffs would figure because the US has concerns. It would want, some kind of relaxations from India, which India has already given indications. It's lowered imports on, say, motorcycles and a couple of other things. But what India would want to do is, sit with the US, identify sectors and see where it can give concessions without harming its own interests. And then also, tell the US that the both sides can work together in the wider relationship. Give and takes can happen in certain sectors where the US feels its interests are being hurt. For example, India has its ambitious Make in India program. So it would want joint production of defense equipment or weapon systems in India, but without really stepping on the toes of the United States, because Donald Trump also wants to, his policy of America first. He wants to create jobs here. He wants investments and production to happen here. So I think the two leaders, when they meet tomorrow, they will be looking at how they can work towards cooperation in areas where they take care of each other's interests, Gautam.
Certainly. And both India and the US, Amrit, have a lot to offer to each other, even if the relationship is seen from the transactional prism. Now, how is the partnership likely to be strengthened further?
They have a multifaceted, partnership in trade. US is the biggest trading partner. The 2023 figures say about $118 billion, but that's just the goods. If you add services to it, that puts the bilateral trade at more than $200 billion. There is the balance of trade is in favor of India, which Trump has concerns about. But there are the relationship is in the energy sector, in the defense sector, in the pharmaceutical sector, in the health sector, space, technology, military technologies, semiconductors. So essentially the two sides would want to look at how they can expand the scope of this. India is looking at purchasing major defense equipment from the United States, from the Stryker military vehicles to the anti-tank missiles and things like that. So even the United States is keen to sell fighter jets to India. So there is a scope of widening this relationship. And also
That's just talking from a transactional point of view. But if you look at the larger strategic partnership, their interests coincide. And I think that's where the play really is. Because in the larger scheme of things, be it on security matters, be it on Indo-Pacific, their interests coincide. So I think they would want to then, within that context, see what they can, give and take, what kind of give and take can happen. So I think this meeting of Prime Minister with the US President is essentially to explore the way forward on that. Gautam.
Yes, certainly the world is watching what will happen when these two leaders meet in their first meeting in the second coming of Donald Trump to the White House. Thanks a lot for joining us for the moment, Amritpal Singh. Now, India's semiconductor dreams have taken a major leap forward. US-based chip-making tool giant Lam Research has announced a 100 billion INR investment in India, marking a significant boost to the country's semiconductor manufacturing ambitions. The move aligns with Prime Minister Modi's vision of making India a global hub for chip production. Take a look at the details.
In a major push to India's semiconductor manufacturing ambitions, US chip equipment supplier Lam Research is investing 10,000 crore rupees in the country. The announcement was made by India's Electronics and IT Minister Ashwini Vaishnav, who took to microblogging platform X, calling it a big vote of confidence in India's semiconductor journey. With global demand for semiconductors surging, India is positioning itself as a major player in chip manufacturing. The country's semiconductor market is projected to reach $109 billion by 2030, and initiatives are in place to ensure self-sufficiency and reduced reliance on imports. The India's semiconductor mission is at the heart of this effort, aiming to build a sustainable ecosystem for semiconductor and display manufacturing. Launched in 2021 with a 76,000 crore rupees budget, the Semicon India program provides strategic incentives to attract global and domestic players into semiconductor production, covering everything from fabrication to chip packaging and sensors. The second edition of Semicon India is set for September 1 and 2 this year, following a hugely successful edition in 2024 that saw participation from over 250 companies across 18 countries. With growing local demand for electronics, India's semiconductor ecosystem is expanding rapidly. With global tech giants betting big on India, the country is steadily cementing its place in the world's semiconductor supply chain. Bureau Report, DD India.
Now, India Energy Week 2025 continues to make waves in New Delhi, bringing together global leaders, policymakers and industry experts to shape the future of energy. On day 2, the spotlight was on India's groundbreaking clean cooking model and a strategic energy partnership with the United States. DD India's Akshay Dongre reports from the venue.
India's Union Minister of Petroleum and Natural Gas, Hardeep Singh Puri, led a high-level roundtable on clean cooking, sharing India's remarkable journey in ensuring universal LPG or liquefied petroleum gas access. He highlighted the success of Pradhan Mantri Ujjwala Yojana, which has made clean cooking gas affordable for millions, costing just 7 cents a day to the beneficiaries.
In India, if you are a beneficiary of a government scheme for economically weaker section, you can get clean cooking gas available for you, which costs not more than 7 cents in a day. If you are not a beneficiary of a scheme for economically weaker section, it'll cost you what, 15 cents a day? In other words, clean cooking fuel is available almost to everyone and it's not an issue.
Global representatives, including ministers from Tanzania, Sudan, Nepal and other countries of the Global South, acknowledged India's achievements and explored how similar strategies could be implemented in their countries.
We have realized that India stand out as statistics shows that by 2023, 71% of Indian population was using clean cooking energy. As a lesson from this is the importance of evolving private sector and coupling subsidies to low-income households so that they can access clean cooking also.
Experts from the International Energy Agency and Boston Consulting Group emphasized India's strong policy framework, targeted subsidies and technological innovations, making its model highly replicable across the global south. The minister also highlighted India's push for solar cooking solutions, aiming to expand affordable, sustainable alternatives. In another key event, India and the US reinforced their strategic energy partnership at the high-level roundtable chaired by Minister Puri alongside US industry leaders. Discussions focused on trade, technology exchange, and investment in clean energy. Key areas of collaborations discussed by the two sides included strengthening LNG and crude oil trade, accelerating renewable energy investments, advancing technologies like carbon capture, hydrogen, and battery storage. With India leading the way in clean energy solutions and international partnerships, India Energy Week 2025 continues to shape the global energy future.
U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said on Wednesday that the U.S. would not deploy troops to Ukraine under any peace agreement. He also emphasized that Ukraine regaining its pre-2014 borders or joining NATO is unrealistic, and pursuing such goals could prolong the war and cause more suffering. Speaking at a NATO meeting in Brussels, Hegseth urged U.S. allies to take on more responsibility for European security. He also made clear that NATO membership for Ukraine is not part of a solution to the conflict.
We want, like you, a sovereign and prosperous Ukraine. But we must start by recognizing that returning to Ukraine's pre-2014 borders is an unrealistic objective. Chasing this illusionary goal will only prolong the war and cause more suffering. That said, the United States does not believe that NATO membership for Ukraine is a realistic outcome of a negotiated settlement. To be clear, as part of any security guarantee, there will not be U.S. troops deployed to Ukraine.
Let's now take a look at other stories making news around the world as well. Greece's parliament elected its former speaker, Konstantin Tassoulas, as the country's new president on Wednesday. He will succeed Katerina Skatarapoulou, whose 5-year term ends in March. Tassoulas will be sworn in as head of state on the 13th of March. Vietnam's capital Hanoi became the most polluted city in the world, as reported by IQ Air, an air quality monitoring service. With a population of nearly 9 million people, Hanoi faces significant air pollution challenges due to burning of agricultural and household waste, as well as emissions from industrial and construction activities. And still to come on DD India News Hour, we'll be speaking with our expert guest about the progress made in India-France ties during Prime Minister Modi's latest visit to the European nation.
Timeless, boundless and infinite, the essence of faith, the soul of Sanatan culture, from the sacred confluence of Prayag, where divinity descends to earth. Witness the grandeur, the devotion, the magic, world's largest cultural and spiritual gathering, with over 450 million devotees expected to attend. Mahakumbh, India's greatest festival of faith. Exclusively on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Gautam Roy. Let's now take you back to our top story, which is all about Prime Minister Narendra Modi's 6th visit to France, which has seen the two countries advancing ties in areas concerning the future, from AI to nuclear energy and much else as well, including giving a lot of emphasis to people-to-people ties with the inauguration of an Indian consulate, spanking new Indian consulate in the port city of Marseille. To talk about it, we have with us Ambassador Mohan Kumar. He's been India's ambassador to France. And good evening to you, Ambassador Kumar. What do you make of what's happened overall over the course of the 3 days as far as the PM's visit to France this time around is concerned, because a lot of focus on the future with the tech for the future, and mostly we've talked about AI and what will power AI perhaps in the future, which is nuclear energy.
Thank you, Gautam, for having me. I think this visit needs to be situated in a geopolitical context which is very different from the past visits of Prime Minister Modi to France and the visits of President Macron to India. What you have in the United States is Mr. Donald Trump, who I think has brought about a certain degree of unpredictability and instability to the US positions on various issues, the transactional approach, and his approach that America is first before other countries. In this context, I see a natural convergence between France and India and the EU more broadly, but certainly France and India. You have to understand that France is also caught in the middle of the friction between US and China. France is also going to face the friction between US and EU. India has been able to navigate quite well, but this visit by Prime Minister Modi, if you want me to summarize it in one sentence, it is to enhance the strategic convergence between India and the United States, but also to reduce the trade dissonance between India and the United States. In this context, I see the relationship with France as being extremely important because it provides India with more geopolitical options. It provides India and France the same degree of strategic autonomy and independence that they want, not just from the United States, but also from China. Against this background, I think three important areas have been addressed. One, obviously, is defense. And I think a lot of progress has been made. We need to make the transition from a buyer-seller relationship to French investments in India and how France can transfer technology. The second area is energy, and I'm really pleased that there has been an emphasis on small and modular nuclear reactors because we have been struggling, Gautam, to make progress on the Jaitapur nuclear plant. So this emphasis on small modular nuclear reactors is very welcome for India. And third, as you rightly said, people-to-people ties, and the opening of the consulate in Marseille is long overdue. I remember making this recommendation when I was ambassador. The choice was between Lyon and Marseille, and we said Marseille is a much better fit. Extremely happy to note that finally the government of India has decided to open this consulate in Marseille, and that, as you say, will not just lead to people ties, but you must look at Marseille in the context of the India, Middle East to Europe economic corridor. Marseille will be an extremely important port which will enable this corridor, which will go from India to the Gulf to Europe. Marseille will be the beachhead where a lot of these goods which take this India, Middle East, Europe economic corridor will get off in Marseille to find its way to various parts of Europe. So all in all, geopolitically an extremely important visit, a visit which is very different because of the geopolitical context.
Certainly. And if you look at the outcomes, apart from what you spoke about in terms of technology and nuclear energy, which may be used to power technology in itself, there is, of course, the India-France Year of Innovation 2026 logo, which has been finalized. There is also partnerships about the fact that there is a triangular development cooperation that India and France have, and also about the environment. So what does that tell you about the relationship?
I think of all the things that you have just mentioned, and they are all important, I would point to the triangular development cooperation as a very important aspect. If I remember rightly, this is the first time we have made a reference to trilateral issues in a bilateral document. In the joint statement between France and India, there is a reference to India, France, UAE trilateral cooperation.
Yes.
an India-France-Australia trilateral cooperation. In development cooperation economists, among them, this will be called triangular development cooperation, since it involves two developing countries and one developed country, or two developed countries and one developing country. This is extremely critical for the Indo-Pacific region. And I think India's emphasis on Quad is justified, and Quad is extremely important. But I think India should not put all its eggs in the Quad basket. That is what India is trying to do by promoting cooperation with UAE, France in the Indian Ocean region, and with Australia, France in the Pacific region. That will take care of India's geopolitical interests in addition to Quad. And I'm not suggesting that we are de-emphasizing or giving Quad a lesser importance than what it deserves, but it is all part, as you can see, Gautam, a part of a hedging strategy, a geopolitical hedging strategy that India is putting in place, where we don't devalue our cooperation with US and Trump, but we enhance our strategic options so that it makes it easier for India to achieve its objectives. There is a certain degree of comfort working with UAE. I have noticed that. I have been part of the track 2 trilateral between India, France, UAE. And similarly with Australia and France as well, we have been able to achieve quite a few things, particularly in the area of marine economic stability and so on. So that's something we are already doing in the context of Quad, but we can further expand it when we work with India, France and Australia. France, bear in mind, is the largest, has got the largest real estate in Indian Ocean. It's a resident Indian Ocean power, and that should give India a lot of motivation to work with France.
Certainly, and I wish we had more time to talk about it, but I'm afraid we're coming towards the end of the show, so I'll thank you at this point, but I'm sure we'll have more occasions to talk about it as India and France make rapid progress in their overall relationship. Now, India's index of industrial production recorded a growth of 3.2% in December 2024 as against 5.2% in the month of November 2024. The growth rates of the three sectors, mining, manufacturing and electricity, for the month of December 2024 are 2.6%, 3% and 6.2% respectively, with indices standing at 143.1, 156.2 and 192.8 respectively. The quick estimates of IIP stands at 157.2 in December 2024 against 152.3 in December 2023. In manufacturing sector, top three positive contributors for the month of December 2024 are manufacture of basic metals, manufacture of electrical equipment and manufacture of coke and refined petroleum products. Now, this year's Pariksha Pe Charcha featured a special episode on mental health and well-being, with Bollywood actress Deepika Padukone engaging with students in the second episode. Deepika talked about the significance of mental well-being, particularly in the context of education. The students asked the actress about the key actions to boost their mental health, to which she emphasized the importance of self-expression, encouraging students to never suppress their feelings.
हमारे देश में बहुत स्टिग्मा होता था मेंटल इलनेस को लेकर. डिप्रेशन, एंजाइटी, स्ट्रेस कभी भी किसी को भी हो सकता है. जैसे श्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी ने उनके किताब एग्जाम वॉरियर्स में भी लिखा है, एक्सप्रेस नेवर सप्रेस. It really takes off a lot of weight off your shoulders. And when you're preparing for exams in particular, you start feeling better. You feel like अच्छा अब मैं एग्जाम पे मैं फोकस कर सकती हूँ क्योंकि मेरा जो इशू है मैं उसके बारे में मैंने बात किया है. And you're able to just focus and live a healthier, better life.
Prime Minister Modi launched the 8th edition of Pariksha Pe Charcha on Monday with an interaction with students at Delhi's iconic Sundar Nursery, where he shared tips with the students on managing exam stress, benefits of meditation and leadership. In addition to Deepika Padukone, several other notable personalities including Bollywood stars Vikrant Messi and Bhumi Pednekar, spiritual leader Sadhguru Jaggi Vasudev and Indian boxer Mary Kom will be participating in the forthcoming episodes. And now to all the latest from the Mahakumbh, the largest religious congregation in the world. The banks of the holy Sangam in Prayagraj came alive with the largest congregation of faith, the Mahakumbh, on Maghi Purnima. With over 20 million devotees taking the holy dip on this auspicious day, the gathering stands as a grand confluence of devotion, spirituality and tradition. DD India's Divyendra Mondal reports.
On this sacred occasion of Maghi Purnima, millions of pilgrims gathered at the holy Sangam, where the Ganga, Yamuna and the mythical Saraswati rivers meet. The ritual of taking a holy dip today is believed to wash away sins and lead to spiritual liberation. Today, more than 1.84 crore devotees have taken part in this auspicious Snan. Kalpvasis who have been observing their month-long spiritual retreat here add to the aura of divinity. Over 10 lakh Kalpvasis living in tents along the riverbanks also immersed in prayer, meditation and rituals, symbolizing their sense of penance and devotion. The Sangam Ghat since early morning on Wednesday were filled with millions of people who had gathered from across the country to take that dip of faith. The devotees offered prayers, flowers and some even lit earthen lamps on the banks of the Sangam, paying their obeisance to the holy confluence of the rivers. The entire Sangam reverberated with chants and devotional songs, infusing the air with an unparalleled spiritual energy. The Mahakumbh administration worked round the clock to ensure the safety and smooth movement of this massive congregation. With thousands of security personnel deployed, checkpoints and health facilities set up along the route, the arrangements are meticulous. Maghi Purnima marks a day of bathing, charity and worship. Pilgrims after their sacred dip offer donations, performing prayers and seeking blessings for prosperity and well-being. As dusk falls over the Sangam, the aura of devotion continues to rise. The Mahakumbh is not just an event, it's a journey of faith and spirituality where millions of hearts come together to celebrate Sanatan culture. Today on Maghi Purnima, that faith shines brighter than ever. Divyendra Mondal's report from Prayagraj for DD India.
And time now to get some sporting updates. Well, let's talk about cricket first. India completed a commanding 3-0 clean sweep over England with an emphatic 142-run victory in the third ODI at Ahmedabad. Batting first, India posted a formidable total of 356 runs, with Shubman Gill leading the charge with a century. Virat Kohli and Shreyas Iyer contributed crucial half-centuries in their final outing before the Champions Trophy. In response, England managed to score only 214 runs as Indian bowlers delivered a collective masterclass. Arshdeep Singh, Harshit Rana, Akshar Patel and Hardik Pandya took 2 wickets apiece, while Kuldeep Yadav and Washington Sundar bagged 1 wicket each. Just ahead of Champions Trophy is this whitewash of England. Tennis now, Elena Rybakina secured a straight-set win over Slovakia's Rebecca Stramkova in round 16 of the Qatar Open. Rybakina defeated Stramkova 7-6, 6-2 to advance into the quarterfinals of the event. Rybakina would either face Iga Swiatek or youngster Linda Noskova in the last 8. Surprisingly, world number 1 Aryna Sabalenka along with Coco Gauff, Jen Quinven and Paula Badosa faced elimination in the second round itself. Charit Asalanka's 100 set up a 49-run victory for Sri Lanka over a depleted Australia in a low-scoring ODI in Colombo on Wednesday. Australia's second-string pace attack bowled Sri Lanka out for 214 in 46 overs despite a run-a-ball ton by skipper Asalanka. Chasing a modest target, Australia suffered a top-order meltdown and were all out for 165 runs in just 33.5 overs. Sri Lanka's Mahesh Theekshana took 4 wickets, while Dinuth Velalagia and Asit Fernando took 2 wickets each. And people across India commemorated the birth anniversary of Guru Ravidas on the 12th of February as Guru Ravidas Jayanti, a revered 15th century saint and poet who played a key role in the Bhakti movement. His teachings emphasized social equality, harmony and justice, inspiring generations. The mystic poet saint played a key role in Bhakti movement and also was a social reformer. He was a strong advocate of the elimination of casteism and gender-based inequality. The occasion is widely observed across northern India, particularly in states like Punjab, Haryana, Himachal Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh and Chandigarh. Celebrations typically include religious processions, devotional music and community gatherings where followers come together to honor his legacy. And that's all we have for this edition of DD India News Hour. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. And for those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India's mobile app. It's available on both Android and iOS. You can scan the QR code on the screen and download the app right away. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Gautam Roy, and from all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India News Hour.